Hello and welcome back to Studio Session. I'm Catherine and thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. Getting started with today's report. For reading, I have to start the book Frankenstein for my English class, and I'm actually really excited about it because this is a book I've been wanting to read for a while. I'm just really trying to expand my knowledge of classics. I just feel like it's good to know whether they're referenced in pop culture or the media or just, I don't know, in general. I feel like I just want to know more about the classics. So I'm excited to get to read Frankenstein. For eating, I would like to give a shout out to Miss Gramis because the other day in AP Stats we did an experiment with cookies and we actually got to eat the cookies. It was great. For playing, I love the song Let It Happen by Tame Impala. I know we covered this on our album review. It was one of the first ones we did on this podcast actually. This is just a pure 7-8 minutes, I don't know, of just perfection. It's just such a good song. It's great. For obsessing, I have fallen down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theory videos on YouTube. I could watch these for hours. I'll just have them playing in the background when I'm doing homework, and most of them are incredibly far-fetched and make no sense, but that's kind of why they're fun to listen to, just hearing all these crazy theories. For recommending, I recommend that you get your homework done as soon as you can. I know it's hard for sports. I mean, my winter sports season just ended and I don't do a spring sport. So getting to go home and actually knock out my homework right away has been great because then I have the entire evening to just relax. So if you can get your homework done early, I definitely recommend doing that. And finally, for treating, this kind of goes hand in hand, but just treating myself to free time after school. I actually get to take a nap if I want to now. It's just the best. That's it for today's report, and let's jump into our main segment. I am joined with Lucas for our main segment, and today's album is an orange album cover, so we chose Channel Orange by Frank Ocean. This is a pop album that was released in 2012, which is actually older than I thought. I don't know why I just in my head associate Frank Ocean with being a new past 5 years artist, but 2012, that's older than I expected. Okay, my favorite song on this album was Pyramids, which shocked me because I think it's the longest song in the album, and usually I tend to gravitate towards the shorter songs, not the interludes, but just shorter songs on average. I think long songs tend to drag out, but I just love this one so much. It almost felt like two songs, but it still remained cohesive. Yeah, it just wasn't dragged out for being such a long song. I love the tune. It was calm, but still not too mellow or sad. I just loved this. I think it was a beautifully made song. So Pyramids was my favorite.
For my favorite from this album, I said it was Pink Matter. The production on this song is great, as is the entire album. I feel like this album was pretty created to Frank Ocean's vibe at the time, which did shift slightly in Blonde, but I feel like this is a great start. He really burst onto the scene with this, and the Andre 3000 feature on the song is great. There's a soothing background to it, and it's just overall a pretty mellow song that I vibe with.
Pink Matter was my first listen of an Andre 3000 song, so I'm glad I got to listen to one because Lucas talks about him all the time on this podcast, but I've never actually listened to any of his work. Just thought I'd point that out. For my second favorite on the album, I chose Thinkin' About You. I really liked the song. I thought it was great. The lyrics were kind of I don't know, interesting. It had a catchy beat. I like this style of music from Frank Ocean, I think. I feel like it's kind of what he's best known for. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just kind of his style. It's pop, but not too hyper pop. I don't know how to describe it, but I think this style is what he does really well. And I think Thinking About You was kind of in that style, so that was my second favorite song.
So I had to go with Pyramids for my second most favorite. I don't know how you can't have this song near the top if you're ranking the album song by song. Although it is near 10 minutes, it pretty much is two different songs in one. And just an incredible, I'm not saying the story itself is incredible, but the way that Frank Ocean goes about it is actually really cool. And just the fact, the start is great, the end is great, and all throughout it's just okay, he's really doing his thing with this one. So I got to give the nod to Pyramids as my second most favorite.
For my least favorite, to be quite honest, there were a lot of songs on this album I was not a fan of. I'm not ranking the interludes or songs with no lyrics, the start, there was no lyrics in that, no lyrics in White featuring John Mayer. So I'm not including those in my least favorites. But yeah, there were just a couple songs that I was considering giving my least favorite because I just wasn't really a fan. But ultimately, I chose Crack Rock as my least favorite because I don't like how he says crack rock. I just think it's like a tongue twister. I feel like you have to listen to the song to hear it, but it's like crack rock, crack. I just I didn't like it. The lyrics were like questionable and definitely not as like thoughtful as I've seen Frank Ocean do. So for that reason, that's what I dubbed my least favorite, but there are still a couple I didn't really like, but I'll touch upon that more in the overall ranking.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not a big fan of crack rock either. But my least favorite, I picked Monks. I just felt like there was too much going on in this track. Although it does have a kind of unique feel to it, I feel like that is as little of a compliment to it as possible in the feel of this album. Um, Overall, just there are better songs, except crack rock maybe. But they're just better songs overall. It's surrounded by bangers, and I just feel like Monks is one of the least accomplishing tracks on this album.
Okay, that's really interesting because our next category is our underrated pick, and I actually picked Monks for my underrated song. I just thought it, kind of like what Lucas said, it was unique, and that's kind of why I liked it. I thought it had kind of like that similar upbeat vibe that I said I liked from Frank Ocean. It was kind of like, not jazzy, but I don't know. I was just surprised at how much I liked it, and I was also surprised it wasn't as popular. Yeah, just kind of for that reason, because I think it kind of goes along with what a lot of the elements that his popular songs have. So I was surprised that it wasn't one of the most popular. But I can see where Lucas is coming from. That's kind of like all over the place, but I don't know. I thought it was a fun song.
For my most underrated song, I went earlier in the album. I picked Sweet Life. I just really like this happier song and the genre of like pop/hip hop savants going in and making these happy songs that you can listen to. I'm trying to be more like picking songs that I feel like would be less popular based on like the star system on Apple. This did not have the star, and I think it needs that appreciation. It's definitely one of the better songs on this album.
This leads me to my overall album rating. And this is on the lower end for me. I give it a 5.75 out of 10. I originally had it down as a 6 out of 10, but that just felt slightly too generous considering there are a lot of songs I don't love. Just as a whole, I thought the album was kind of just all right. I wasn't a big fan of like the whole start and end thing. I just feel like albums don't really need that. I know it kind of like can tie it all together in some circumstances, but I just didn't think this one really needed it. The great songs, they're great, but there's not enough of them, in my opinion, to like really raise the ranking. Personally, I thought the last 4 songs was kind of a bad stretch. Bad Religion, Pink Matter, hot take. Forrest Gump was just kind of meh, and then the end, because I don't know, there was like talking and noises over his singing. Just not a fan of those last 4. I knew some songs on this album going in, so I kind of expected more that were like those songs that I did know. I was familiar with Thinking About You, Sweet Life, Super Rich Kids, Lost, those kind of songs. So I just kind of expected more of that vibe, which I didn't really get from a lot of the other ones. So for that reason, this was kind of a lower rated album for me, but still not the worst.
Okay, I'm gonna come in with a hard disagree. I actually feel like the start and the end are notable things here because I'm thinking about the context of the album. Channel Orange. If you listen to some of the skits and maybe even 2 at the end of like Super Rich Kids, it's as if you're watching TV. So I feel like that's the meaning of there's the start, there's the end, and of course we have multiple skits/interludes throughout. So I actually feel like that is like a notable thing that's not a detriment to the album. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was thoroughly incredible, but only at sustained stretches. There's definitely some songs that need work, but just the pros from this album, Sweet Life, Pyramids, Pink Matter, I don't understand the Bad Religion slander. I think that song is incredible. And then like Lost and, Think About You and, there's just so many good tracks. I just feel like the good outweighs the bad on this one for an 8 out of 10.
This was definitely a cool album to listen to, and let's jump into our next segment of the day. For our next segment today, we are back with another game of Song Association. This is one of my favorites to play just because I think it's so simple, but still, I just like to see the difference in kind of what we think of when we hear these words and pick a song that goes with them. Okay, jumping right in. My first word is party.
Okay, that's funny because that was actually one of my words. Thinking about it, I gotta go with "Party in the USA." That was the first one that just came to mind. Club banger on that one. All right, my first word is money.
Okay, the first song I thought of was Money Trees. Oh gosh, is this by Kendrick Lamar?
It is.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Um, yeah, great song. I do really like the song. I'm not familiar with a lot of Kendrick Lamar songs, but I do know this one. So Money Trees is what I thought of. My next word is rock.
Okay, I know we were just talking about the Frank Ocean one, but I'm gonna go with "Rock with You" by Michael Jackson. Um, this is, just one of those songs that you hear every so often. You're like, oh, Michael Jackson. So that's what I'm picking here. My next word is March.
March. Okay, this is like not even a song, but for some reason when I thought of March, like I know this is a hint at like the month of March, but I thought of this isn't even a song, this is like a nursery rhyme. The Grand Old Duke of York. I think it says like he went marching down the hill or something. It's not even a song. It's like the Grand Old Duke of York. He had I don't know. That's just what I thought of. I don't know why my mind took me there. Yeah, interesting. Okay, my next word is B.
Okay, B, I'm just going off rip. The first one that came to mind was "Let It Be" by the Beatles. This, great song. I actually have been listening to the Beatles randomly, like, over the past week. That song, I need to give flowers to Octopus Garden. I actually think that's the best Beatles song, but "Let It Be" is definitely up there. My next word is beautiful.
I thought of the You're way too beautiful. Is that Sean Kingston? That's who it is. Beautiful, beautiful girls. I think that's what it's called. Maybe I don't know. That one by Sean Kingston. Okay, my next word is flute.
Okay, so y'all know that perhaps you might not know this, but I happen to be a Lizzo fan, and I have not been listening to Lizzo as of late. I know she had some controversy last year. I was actually supposed to maybe peruse around a Lizzo concert, but that never happened. But I gotta just Lizzo is an outstanding flautist, and for that I'm gonna give this to her song "Juice." This came on in autoplay last period, so I have just heard it. It's fresh in my memory. Juice is a club banger. My next word is going to be dancing.
Immediate thought, Dancing Queen by ABBA. Such a good song. I could listen to this like any time of the year, any mood, and I would instantly like be happy and transported to better times in my life. This song slaps any time of day, any place. My next word is yellow.
Okay, so like I just said, I've been on that Beatles kick lately, so I gotta dig back in the coal mines here with this one. I'm going with "Yellow Submarine," another club banger. Some of that early Beatles stuff is just so good. All right, my final word that I have down is underrated.
Ooh, underrated. Underrated. I can't think of a song that actually has underrated in it, so let me just think of an underrated song real quick. Underrated. I'm gonna go with the first one that came to my head was "Bye Bye Baby" by Taylor Swift. I listened to this. It might have been on in my car this morning, which is why I'm thinking of it. This is just such a good song, and I feel like not a lot of people talk about it when it comes to Taylor Swift songs. It's just beautifully crafted, emotional. I don't know, just such a good one, and I feel like it deserves more hype in the Taylor Swift world. All right, my final word today is animal.
Okay, I'm not quite sure why this is the first one that came to mind, but for animal, the first song, that I thought of was "Africa" by Toto. I'm not sure why. This is one of those songs that my dad has on his old iPod that I'll hear playing around the house at random points of the day. So I'm just gonna give the nod to "Africa" by Toto. Great song.
There are indeed many animals in Africa. Okay, that was it for our game of Song Association. Definitely one of my favorites to play. And let's jump into our final segment. For what to expect on our next podcast, our yellow album for the month, we chose This Old Dog by Mac DeMarco. There's an iconic yellow album cover. It's funny because I was talking about this month of doing Colors of the Rainbow album covers in my journalism class, and someone was like, oh, you should do the yellow Bruno Mars one for yellow. I was like, actually, we've already done that. So yeah, just thought that was funny. Lucas is going to highlight a couple of possible new releases for this weekend.
Okay, so first off, Kanye and Ty Dolla $ign are slated to release Vultures Part 2. Honestly, Kanye, known to delay his albums, I think this one should be delayed because I do not want it to be on the tier as the first one. Not a great listen. Just, you heard my criticism on a past episode. And then Ariana Grande is also dropping her project as well called Eternal Sunshine. I believe she has not dropped in a while, so Ariana Grande fans, this one's for you. And finally, just a little note to cap things off. We had JT on our episode where we did Thriller, and we both gave Catherine a lot of flack for picking Baby Be Mine as the best song on Thriller. Although I still think that that's an abysmal take, I did listen to it today. It was on my playlist, and it was incredible. I actually think Thriller might just be the best album of all time, which it's second in my list right now, so.
Thank you very much for seeing where I'm coming from on that pick. Thank you so much for listening to our episode today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.